Imagine living in a house with 8 symmetrical sides, or one made entirely with enameled steel panels. Here are 10 old home styles that were once popular but are no longer commonly built today. Octagon houses were a unique architectural trend that started in the mid-19th century, largely due to the influence of Orson Squire Fowler. He promoted the idea that octagonal homes were more efficient, offering better airflow, natural light, and space utilization. Unlike traditional rectangular houses, octagon houses enclosed about 20% more space with the same perimeter, making them cost-effective and energy efficient. Many of these homes featured flat roofs with central cupolas, wraparound verandas, and innovative heating and water collection systems. Despite their advantages, octagon houses never became mainstream and gradually faded from popularity in the early 1900s. Some well-preserved examples, like the Longwood Mansion in Mississippi and the Octagon House in Watertown, Wisconsin, still exist today. Fowler's own octagonal home, known as Fowler's Folly, was so extravagant that it was abandoned and eventually demolished in 1897. Queen Anne-style architecture became popular in the U.S. between 1880 and 1910, replacing the French-inspired Second Empire style. This design featured asymmetrical facades, large porches, and decorative woodwork, often with patterned shingles and towers. Unlike its British namesake, American Queen Anne homes were more whimsical, with varied roof lines and intricate details. The style spread across the country, influencing row houses, mansions, and even smaller cottages. After 1900, it began to fade, giving way to simpler colonial revival designs. However, some Queen Anne features, like wraparound porches, continued into the 1920s. The most famous example of this style is the Carson Mansion in Eureka, California, considered one of the most photographed Victorian houses in the country. The American Foursquare could be found from the mid-1890s to the late 1930s. It was a reaction against the highly decorative Victorian homes of the 19th century, favoring a simpler, more practical design. These homes were typically 2.5 stories tall with a square, boxy shape, providing maximum interior space on small city lots. Also known as the Prairie Box, it shared many features with the prairie architecture pioneered by Frank Lloyd Wright. They often featured a large front porch, a hipped roof with a central dormer, and built-in cabinetry, influenced by the Craftsman style. Many American Foursquares were sold as mail-order homes, with companies like Sears and Aladdin shipping pre-cut materials for easy assembly. This style was particularly common in Midwestern urban neighborhoods and streetcar suburbs, where efficient, affordable housing was in high demand. The American Craftsman style emerged in the early 20th century as part of the arts and crafts movement, emphasizing handcrafted design and natural materials. It became especially popular in California, where small single-family homes known as California bungalows spread widely. Inspired by the prairie style and shingle style, Craftsman homes featured low-pitched roofs, exposed beams, and built-in furniture. The movement was influenced by figures like Gustav Stickley, who published the Craftsman magazine to promote the style. Unlike the British arts and crafts movement, American designers made handcrafted homes more affordable for the middle class. The style started to decline by the 1930s, replaced by more modern architectural trends. One of the most famous examples of Craftsman architecture is the Gamble House in Pasadena, California, built between 1908 and 1909 by Green & Green. The Shotgun House is a narrow, rectangular home style that was especially common in the southern states from the late 19th century through the 1920s. These houses are typically only about 12 feet wide and feature rooms arranged in a straight line, with no hallways, so that a person could theoretically fire a shotgun through the front door and have the blast exit cleanly out the back. The design likely originated in New Orleans, influenced by Haitian and West African architecture from the early 1800s. Shotgun houses were inexpensive to build and allowed for high-density housing in growing urban areas. They were often constructed close together to maximize land use and take advantage of natural ventilation in hot climates. Many fell into disrepair in the mid-20th century due to urban renewal projects, but recent gentrification has led to their restoration in some areas. Elvis Presley was born in a shotgun house in Tupelo, Mississippi, which is now preserved as a museum. Tudor Revival architecture, also known as Mock Tudor, became popular in the United States in the early 20th century. Inspired by medieval English homes, it featured steeply pitched roofs, decorative half-timbering, and tall brick chimneys. Wealthy Americans in the 1920s and 30s favored Tudor Revival homes, especially in suburban neighborhoods. The style was associated with Old World charm and craftsmanship, making it appealing to those seeking a historic aesthetic. New York City suburbs like Westchester County, Englewood, and Teaneck have many Tudor Revival homes from this time. After World War II, the popularity of Tudor Revival declined as more modern, efficient home styles emerged. By the 1970s and 1980s, builders in the U.S. simplified the style with synthetic materials rather than real wood, making them easier to maintain. The Dutch Colonial Revival style became fashionable in the early 20th century as part of America's nostalgia or colonial architecture. It is known for its distinctive gambrel roof, which resembles the roof of a barn, and wide overhanging eaves. The style was inspired by the original Dutch colonial homes built by settlers in the 17th and 18th centuries, mainly in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Unlike the early stone and brick structures, Dutch Colonial Revival homes were often made with wood siding and featured large dormer windows for added space and light. The design also commonly included a symmetrical facade, a central entry door, and decorative shutters. This architectural style remained popular through the 1930s, especially in the northeastern U.S. One of the most famous Dutch Colonial Revival homes is 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, which became infamous due to the Amityville horror legend. Lustron homes were prefabricated, all-steel houses built in the late 1940s to address the post-World War II housing shortage. Designed by industrialist Carl Strandlund, they were meant to be durable, low-maintenance alternatives to traditional wooden homes. Each house was made of enameled steel panels and built from a kit containing over 3,000 parts. The Lustron Corporation planned to produce tens of thousands of these homes, but financial problems and government intervention led to its bankruptcy in 1950. Despite their short production run, over 2,000 Lustron homes were built, and many still stand today. They were designed to be easy to clean, and their interiors featured metal walls, built-in storage, and even a unique combination clothes and dishwashing machine. Some Lustron homes were even exported to Venezuela for oil industry workers. The Atomic Ranch was a type of mid-century modern home that became popular after World War II. It was a variation of the classic ranch-style house, but featured sleek modern designs with open floor plans. Architect Cliff May helped popularize the ranch house in the 1930s, drawing inspiration from Spanish colonial homes in California. By the 1950s, 9 out of 10 new homes in America were ranches due to their affordability and practicality. Atomic ranch homes often had large picture windows, clerestory windows, and flat or butterfly roof lines to create an indoor-outdoor feel. They were also known for their bold colors and futuristic, space-age design elements. One of the most famous builders of Atomic ranch homes was Joseph Eichler, who helped spread the style across California. Brutalist homes were a bold architectural style that emerged in the 1950s and gained popularity through the 60s and 70s. These homes featured raw concrete, geometric shapes, and a minimalist aesthetic that rejected decorative elements. The style was inspired by modernist architects like Le Corbusier and was meant to emphasize function over form. Many Brutalist homes were built as social housing or university buildings, particularly in socialist countries where concrete symbolized equality. However, by the late 1970s, the style began to decline as people associated it with urban decay and cold, uninviting designs. Despite this, some Brutalist buildings have gained cultural significance and are now protected landmarks. The word brutalism comes from the French term béton brut, meaning raw concrete, not from the word brutal. So, If you could bring back one style of home, what would it be? Drop a comment down below to tell us your favorite home design.